everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Acronyms Project Educational Series. My name is Clarissa Tabosa. I'm an assistant professor at Comenius University, and I'm the rotating chair for the Acronym Project. Now, when we think about refugees, asylum seekers, and migrants, we often hear these words interchangeably. But depending on the context and on who is using these terms, they mean different things. Legally, politically, scholars, they tend to use analytical categories. Governments and immigration authorities rely on legal and administrative ones. The public, journalists, politicians, they often rely on discursive categories. And these categories, they don't often align. A refugee is someone who has been forced to flee their country of origin because of persecution or fear of persecution based on five main criteria: race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group. And this is based on the definition that can be found on the UN Refugee Convention of 1951. Now, refugee can be both an analytical and a legal category on the one side, but also a discursive category. We can use the term refugee to refer in general to people who are fleeing war, but refugee is also a legal status and an administrative category. And in this case, the difference between asylum seeker and refugee is also very important. An asylum seeker in this legal categorization is someone who is in need of international protection, who has applied for this kind of protection in a foreign country, but whose status has not yet been recognized. So there is this difference. A refugee as a legal category is someone who has the status, who has applied for asylum, who was first an asylum seeker and then got the status of a refugee. Now, what about migrants? The International Organization for Migration defines an international migrant as any person who is outside of a state in which he or she has citizenship or is a national. And usually, when we refer to the term migrants, we are thinking about economic migrants, people who have left their country for economic reasons. Now, why does these categorizations matter? They matter because the categories that we choose and the words that we choose to refer to people on the move affect the rights assigned to specific people, to these different categories. It also affects public attitudes towards them, and even how we study migration as students, as scholars. And Pedro Pascal, well, why does he matter for this discussion? Pedro Pascal matters for refugee visibility because he openly shared his family asylum story, reminding us that refugees are people with dignity, resilience, and potential rather than threats to national security, as we very often hear. His story challenges these harmful, I would say, stereotypes about refugees and shifts public opinion and public perception towards more empathy and inclusion. Thank you.